Tom, always good to talk to you.
Oh, it's good to talk with you, Jenny. I tell you, things are happening right now, aren't they?
Oh, they really are, and the clock is ticking right down to November. You know there's a lot going on.
Yeah, we're in the final lap right now, and we got to pour it on.
No kidding. And President Obama, talk about pouring it on. President Obama had laid out his anti-gun agenda on his website. Then it was pulled down. You did some digging around, and you found out it's back up.
Well, it is, and that's the weird part. I mean, right after Obama took office 4 years ago, on the official White House website, they had all of his policies and things he wanted to accomplish, and among those, under his crime agenda, he listed 4 things in terms of gun control he wanted. He wanted to eliminate the TR Amendment, which, of course, allows anti-gun groups to use gun trace data for their own use. But primarily among all those is he wanted a gun ban. And people get confused and say, yeah, it's the assault weapons ban. Yeah, that's a gun ban. And so now, after yanking that thing down 4 years ago, we discovered that it's back up, but it's on a different website. Now it's on the website to help reelect President Obama. And you got to wonder, why now?
Yeah, especially when you see what's going on in these polls. I mean, he talks about how, he cares about the Second Amendment. And, he's been saying to the Brady campaign, we got to do all this under the radar. And then he told that Russian president, just wait. After my election, I'll have more flexibility. And I think for those of us who have been following this, it's been pretty clear. It's just really been a matter of time for him.
Well, exactly right. And occasionally I'll talk to gun owners who say, well, he hasn't done anything to help pass gun control laws. And I say, well, you're not paying attention, because he's done, pardon me, he's done a lot of things to take away gun rights. He stopped the importation of tens of thousands of surplus M1 Garands, and he said, well, they could fall into the wrong hands. Well, how does that happen if they have to all be sold at gun stores and the FBI has to do the background check on every purchaser? And then, of course, you have Fast and Furious, and that's just a whole chapter in and of itself, where he offers executive privilege to the Justice Department, which was orchestrating the smuggling of guns into Mexico. And that's something I'd love to touch on in just a second. But then, of course, we also have him, by executive order, this is, again, more President Obama gun control, ordering states that border Mexico to increase their reporting requirements when people buy guns, completely illegal and absolutely contrary to what Congress wanted.
And you look at Fast and Furious.
Well,
and,
Fast and
there's
Furious,
a lot of people who say, hey, nothing. You got the Democrats on the committee, the oversight committee, saying, hey, this had nothing to do about advancing gun laws. But you talk to the people involved, and that's what this was about.
Well, clearly. And the thing that so many people just have not realized about Fast and Furious, you hear the media saying, it was a botched gun tracking scheme. It was not a botched gun tracking scheme. It worked exactly as designed. The design of Fast and Furious, and this is the evil, insidious part of it, there was no plan to track guns. They were going to give the guns to the cartels and then wait for the guns to show up at crime scenes. Think about that. We're going to give guns to murderers, and then we're going to wait for people to get killed with the guns we supplied. Then we're going to go in and recover the guns and then try to figure out where they went. There was never a plan to track guns. The heart of Fast and Furious was it depended upon people getting murdered for it to succeed.
And Tom, right today, they're having a hearing on what's going on in Libya. And you look at Fast and Furious, the scandal it is, and you look at what's going on in Libya. And, you have a president standing there a couple of days ago saying to Romney, hey, if you want to be president, you owe the American people the truth. Maybe he ought to start with his own administration, because you're seeing a repeat performance on this whole tragedy in Libya.
Yeah, and ISA and Grassley are not having any of it, and they're still not letting go of Fast and Furious, and now they're sinking their teeth into this Libya deal. And I think all of this is coming to a head, and frankly, it's probably why the Democrats decided to go back to their home base. It's like going back to the mothership and say, yeah, we are in fact in favor of gun control. Oh, yeah, we are in fact in favor of gun bans. And they actually came out with it because I think they've given up on the middle. They realize they're losing the middle, and so they're going to have to shore up the liberal left.
And, the NRA launched its ad campaign in several key battleground states. But, you look at Obama. And he's made clear, the Constitution gets in his way. And he's also made clear if he can't get it done in Congress when it comes to gun laws, he's going to go to the UN because he thinks the UN should have more say over what we do in this country anyway.
Well, when he was running, he was pretty honest, actually, originally. He said that, he wants to, in essence, be a world leader, not just a U.S. leader. He said he wants to fundamentally change America. Well, he's working on that as much as he can. And you're right. If he can't get what he wants through Congress, he'll do it through executive order or go to the UN or just tell the Justice Department, do what you got and I got your back.
Yeah. And, tomorrow I got to ask you, the VP's debate. You got Paul Ryan going up against Vice President Joe Biden. And there's a lot of talk saying, that in the past the VP debates really haven't made much of a difference. What do you think this time around?
Could be explosive if Biden isn't coached up, but I think he's probably been being coached fairly well. But if he goes to the old Joe Biden, he could blow up on this. My concern, frankly, is something we've talked about, which is I wonder if Ryan is getting good enough advice because he's trying to downplay his gun rights effort. In fact, he recently said something about, well, I don't know that even Obama's pushing gun control.
Right.
I think he's being advised poorly on this. This is an issue that can move the needle a half a point or a point, and that makes the difference in this election.
And that's an interview that Ryan just did with the ABC affiliate, I believe, talking about how he didn't think the president was even going after gun control. But, you look at that, they got it on tape, and they're going to use it. And as you said, the one thing, though, Ryan himself has said he's pretty sure Biden's going to come after him like a cannonball. And that could work against him. I mean, if he looks like a pit bull after what happened with President Obama in the first debate, it could maybe not be what they need to do.
It's almost, Jenny, like the roles have been reversed now, and the Obama team are the challengers, and they're having to be aggressive to get people to take them seriously.
Yep, but just to get back to what we were talking about earlier, if people have any question about where this president is going when it comes to our firearm freedoms and our individual freedoms, you found this information back on Obama's website. It was the website change.gov?
Yes, change.gov, and you poke around and it'll be under the agenda and his policies, and you drill down and you'll find under crime, and it lists these 4 gun control measures. It's the exact same ones that were on the White House website 4 years ago, and he calls specifically for a gun ban. When you talk about banning ugly guns, which is all this so-called silly assault weapons ban is, that's banning the most popular firearms being made and bought in America today, the AR-15 platform, used in competition, used for hunting, used in the national matches, and used for military, law enforcement, and self-protection. He wants to ban these guns. So don't tell me he's not anti-gun. Anybody who wants to ban guns, I think, automatically qualifies as being anti-gun.
I got to ask you because, Wayne LaPierre, the NRA leadership, Chris Cox, David Keene, they've all made clear. We all talk about every election is so important, but they made clear that this is really the most important election we've had in a lifetime. What are you hearing from your viewers, your talk show host folks?
What I'm hearing is they're finally getting it. It's like it's finally breaking through in the last month, and they're understanding. And I'm gladdened to hear that they understand what's really important, and that is forget all the rest of it. If you take everything else and throw it away, there's one thing that is critically important, and that is Obama's ability to put judges on the bench and justices in the Supreme Court. And that's not a 4-year change. That's a 40-year change. That changes things irreparably because right now we won Heller and we won McDonald, these massive decisions for the Second Amendment. We won them each by 1 vote. Obama has put 2 people on the Supreme Court. Both of them lied under oath before the Senate and said they would support the current standard, which is Heller. And then, of course, they immediately flipped around. They're anti-gun. Obama would put anti-gun justices on the federal bench and anti-gun justices on the Supreme Court, and they would actively try to undo the advances we've made with Heller and McDonald, and they would try to strip us of our gun rights. People need to remember one thing. This White House, this administration argued before the Supreme Court that nobody in this country has a right to own a gun. They specifically said only the National Guard has a right to have guns, and there is no individual right to own a gun. That's the current administration. What happens if they get more control of the courts?
Yeah, and you look at the national polls in the past couple of days after the first debate, and Romney's gaining momentum among women, among young college students, where he had huge support, the Obama administration did in the first go-round, and key battleground states. And, something like 67 million people watched that debate, and I think they were looking at Obama for the first time, realizing this is a guy, he doesn't have a prompter in front of him, he doesn't have anybody telling him what to say. They saw the true Obama.
Well, and consequently, the same thing for Romney.
Mm-hmm.
The first time they got to see Romney without the liberal media filter, they took everything off. Now you get to see Obama the way he really is without the teleprompter. You get to see Romney the way he really is without the media telling you that he's dumb, he's slow, he's rich, he's detached, all of that stuff that the CNNs of the world have been telling us. And I think millions of people looked at that and said, holy cow, I have been lied to.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? When people realize they have been lied to, they react pretty strongly. And I think that's part of why you see the polls moving so fast.
Well, we'll see what happens.
All right. It's going to be
weeks.
fascinating. But the main thing is for all the gun owners to understand, if you're not registered, you got to register right now. I mean, that window is closing in the next few days. And then start the advance voting, get in there, and just make sure you vote and get all your buddies out there. Because if there was ever one for the ages, this election really determines what happens to our future.